This is the Leatherman Signal. These are some parts we're going to add to it today. This is another episode of Mod Mondays. I've been kind of in the minority when it comes to the Leatherman Signal. It's not my favorite tool, and I'm trying to learn to love it with your guys' help. So in a previous video, we did loosen up the plier head a little bit so it moves a little bit smoother, does kind of fall open at least most of the way, and I'm sure it'll wear in more over time. But that was one kind of issue I was having with it, just preventing me from carrying it. In the future, we should probably replace these scale tools with something a little more applicable for me. But what I wanted to do today is add in some different parts and kind of turn this into an urban carry multi-tool rather than the outdoorsy tool that it is designed to be. There's nothing wrong with that as an outdoors tool, but it's just not quite doing it for my everyday carry needs. I've got some T10 Torx bits here on the drivers. No, I don't. I have T8. We'll swap over to T10 bits and we'll start cracking this open. I did do some tests ahead of time, so hopefully I'm not mistaken about anything, but we're just going to spin out the screw head, and the screw's coming out from the back, interestingly. Oh, you know what? This has got a design similar to, let me pull this apart so you can see it. It's got a design similar to like the Wingman or Signal, where there's a hex head on this, the other end of the pivot, and then there's a screw in from both sides. The reason for that is it helps hold the pocket clip in place and technically makes the pocket clip removable. We could remove that and not worry about it. Maybe we'll do that, but I don't see a reason to right now. That means we don't need to do anything on the back end. We can just unscrew the screw from the front side. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to swap out this stock blade, which is sort of a would you call that, a sheep's foot combo blade. It's got about an inch of serrations here. We're going to swap that out with the standard Leatherman Wave blade. All these parts are going to be linked below and available at multipartstore.com. If you want just a few parts, you could also buy a Wave and get all the parts you need for this mod, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be a direct swap, so I'm going to put this on in the open position. I found that to be a little easier. Of course, you need to be careful with the blade when you do this. And we will screw this right back in. You're going to see how easy this mod can be, as long as I'm not mistaken. As always, I would normally add a little Loctite here. We may return this to stock afterwards, so I'm not going to. What I'm going to do here is crank this until it's snug. Whoops. And then, actually, that's totally fine. Let's crank that down a little more, see what happens. Turn off the ratcheting here. Yeah, it needs to go further. It's not seated all the way, I don't think. Actually, I think I know what the issue is. Let's see what happens here. So if I pop that in, there's actually a little blade play. So we're gonna change things up here. We're gonna make an audible here. If I'm not mistaken, I think that this indicates that the Wave blade is going to be a little bit thinner. Luckily, we're here in the shop with plenty of tools. Let's check something real quick. So the blade on the Wave is about 2.4 millimeters in thickness. The blade on the Signal is 3.15, leading to 0.6 millimeter difference, if my math was quick enough and on the spot. So I'm going to grab some bronze washers. I have spares here at the ready, and we're going to see how many we need to make it 0.6 thicker. It looks like it's going to be 2 bronze washers. That's going to bring that up 0.53. That might be enough. Let's try that. Let's just add 1 to the first side, and then we'll put the blade on. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. We can bring it up closer to camera as well. And actually, we're going to put them all, let's put one more on this side. It may not be ideal, but it also might work kind of well. We'll try it out, see how it goes. As I'm getting things stuck together here on the bench, Let's get that screw on the driver. Come on now. Doesn't want to seat. There it is. Okay. And now we've lost the washer. Back at it. Really, the benefit of doing these things live to tape is you guys get to see me screw up 100 times. And who doesn't want that? So let's crank this down. Now we can, if I crank this tight, that blade, way less play. Maybe we could add one more if we wanted to. It feels fine to me. Your mileage may vary. You might want a third bronze washer there, or a fourth, I guess, but add 2 or 3. I don't believe we're rubbing on the frame, but it may benefit from one extra washer as well. That's going to be, it's going to tend to because of the spring pressure from the liner lock. But that is the fully plain edge blade on a Leatherman Signal. Does move pretty well, actually. I could see myself liking this. Again, I'd add some Loctite if I was going to carry this on the reg. Let's jump over to the other side. And I'm going to swap the wood saw with a file. Maybe this will be an unpopular mod, but that's okay. I tend to find that the file is more useful for me on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to keep that pivot in place. Excuse me. And let's flip this over. I'm just going to keep a finger on the back of that pivot so it doesn't fall out. And we will remove the saw. Now, I think that washer was on the wrong side. We'll put it back in on this side. This is just one I had on hand. If you purchase the file from us, it'll be a full-size file. I have ground the end of this down for use as, well, I was testing something. I honestly don't remember. But that's why that end is going to be all a little shorter and a little bit different profile. I can pull a standard, oops, did a little mistake there. I'll show you. Just need to loosen that back up and make sure that that locking tab is pressed down as you tighten this up. That'll help keep everything in place. Should be a... Okay, we've got it set up. Let's tighten it down. I'm going to grab the vise again. Oops. And we'll back up the other side of that screw with another driver. I'll get that nice and tight. It'll probably be too tight. Actually, no. So completely cranked down, that does work quite well. I can still access this file one-handed just by pressing on it. There's enough of a cutout here on the Signal, which is nice. I believe, let me grab a standard diamond file. If you were to use that, you may have, I don't think you'll have any issue, but you can see the profile is going to be just a little bit longer. That's how they're going to come from us, or if you pull it from a Leatherman Wave. So just a little longer, and you've got this notch at the tip. Let's see, we are going to catch on some pieces. If I wanted to, I maybe would bend this frame just a little bit away, but this is perfectly fine for me. And then the last mod I'm going to try here, not sure if this one's going to work, is going to be to swap out the can opener right there in the combo tool for a microbit driver. And I think that this will be a straight swap. If we check the thicknesses, they should be very, very similar. But we will find out for sure here when we begin the process. Let me get this in the vise properly. Close that up, and let's dig in. So again, these are T10 bits. It does not need, oh, it does need security Torx on the tool side. So that is worth noting. I'm not going to pull anything I don't have to here. I'm going to grab myself a brass punch of appropriate size, and I'm going to slide this out. I should actually be able to slide just the can opener out here if I'm careful. And the way I'm going to do that is the way I'm going to try and do that is let's flip this open. Oops. Got our punch in place of the pivot. We're going to flip that open. I'm going to use the punch to hold in the awl and any washers that are in there. And I'm going to use the pivot to hold in the bit driver. And I'm going to see if I can get just enough of an opening here to slide that out. There we go. Everything's sitting nice and steady. Nobody breathed too loud. And this might be the easiest mod I've ever done on this channel. I'm going to slide that back out just enough to drop that pivot back into place and right back through. Cannot believe that worked. I can't believe that worked. It worked live on camera the first time. That's crazy. All right, just getting that screw started, and we will cinch it back up and see how well this works. That is fascinating. I've got the ratcheting screwdriver going the wrong direction, so this is fighting me. Let me fix that. There's still enough Loctite in there that it's snug. I'm going to go all the way in and then back it off just a touch. Yep, just a little bit more, I think. Maybe about a quarter turn total from snug. And now those tools open up. Let's check that out in use if we close that up. So right now, we've got our Leatherman, our Urban Signal, and Leatherman should take this idea and run with it because a lot of it's parts that they already make. Here is the plain edge blade, works super well. The file, which again is a little bit non-standard just because it's shortened, but that works quite well as well. And those are going to be absolutely direct swaps. Well, I shouldn't say absolutely. They're going to be very close to direct swaps. Inside, we had loosened those pliers in a previous video. Make sure to check that out if you want to see how we get our Leatherman plier heads worked in. And then inside, you've still got the awl. Works perfect. You've got the micro bit driver. Now those tools are going to clump a little bit. And that locks in place. And let's see if I can do this one. I was trying to do it one-handed in a silly way. And you've got the full-size bit driver. I could maybe try adding a washer in between just to keep them from clumping a little bit. That's not something that bothers me. But that, in and of itself, becomes a really handy kind of urban EDC. So I tell you what, I'm going to carry this for the next week. Maybe. I'm going to try to. And we're going to see how this fares. Now, I think the next thing that I would do is grab some of the replacement scale tools for this. I'm not sure what I would do. I know some of them hold bits. I'm guessing some of them do other things. And you could swap these scale tools out. Normally it's a flint striker with a whistle, if you're not familiar. And then this is a diamond sharpener, which I don't hate the diamond sharpener if it actually helps keep the edge up. Might be nice. Sort of a self-sufficient sort of vibe. That's pretty cool. All right, guys, I'm going to test it, and I'll report back on whether I think the Signal is a good tool for me. And I'm sorry that it's not my favorite tool. I know that offends a lot of people, but I am trying my hardest to like this tool. So this is my urban version of the Signal. And make sure to check out make sure to check out Mod Mondays, our new series doing live multi-tool mods, and become a member if you want to check these out live. And then we will get into the Q&A for those members who are here with us today.